So that's a bit I prepared earlier.
Can we put that beside it?
Yep.
Okay, I don't like using the phrase, this changes everything. It can be a bit clicky unless you really come up with the goods. I'm filming this from home this morning. I was just mid-edit, as you can see, and I've just received an email from an archaeologist friend, and he's used the words, this changes everything, with regard to something he's just found. So we're going to pack our bags up, head in that general direction. The fact that this is here in the first place. Can't really mention what it is yet, or mention the location, because I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say.
And it's on the same route that the Preseli stones would have taken.
But all will be revealed throughout this video.
Hello, what's that?
Okay, you might be thinking a number of different things, not least that doesn't look like a bluestone from Stonehenge, and you'd be right. It is, however, blue, and here in central southern England, well, it definitely doesn't belong here. The most curious aspect of all of this, the reason we are here today, the memory of a 76-year-old man that said very recently, when I was a kid here, well, we had a huge bluestone on this estate. I don't remember where it is now.
A few years later I came through and I noticed one piece had been put in a hole over here.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack here, so first of all, a little bit of context.
And have you ever seen so many anomalies in such a small area as this?
Over the last couple of years, we've been in contact with a very friendly bunch of archaeologists who've been working at a particular site on a specific estate. Mainly this place, which for the time being will remain undisclosed for reasons that might already be obvious. Now, we'd love to spend more time here helping out, but we're very much part-time archaeologists. In fact, we're not even that. I just spend most of my time looking confused and trying to understand the technical jargon. I am on wild beast duty to make sure they don't trip over the equipment. Perhaps I'm then going to convert it one day into layman's terms, and maybe then I'm the Tony Robinson of the party. 2 years ago, work started on this site, not least to find that elusive bluestone.
The stone came from there. They couldn't have moved it that far.
But also to give us sort of a wider context of the history on that site and its context within the much wider landscape. We are within a decent radius of Stonehenge, and lo and behold, we have a whole load of good stuff going on here. Even before a trowel was lifted, LiDAR imagery showed scores of Bronze Age barrows, possible henges, maybe even a stone avenue, and maybe even a Circis monument. There is a decade or more work to be done here, so when the inbox pinged with the message, well, it kind of gave all the work that had been done here so far a bit more credibility almost. It gave us a real tangible mystery to get our teeth into.
And that to me is the significant factor. This stone is the only one of its type found in this location.
As if the stuff they'd found wasn't good enough already. Okay, so we'll come back to that stone very shortly, but I guess first of all the biggest question is, why are we getting excited about a lump of rock? Stonehenge probably shouldn't get us as excited as it does, based on how many other sites we have in the UK equally as mind-boggling. So let's take Stonehenge. Well, we have there 3 different types of stone to deal with, and maybe, just maybe, that will help give context to our stone in question. 1. Okay, first up, the initial stages of Stonehenge took shape in the form of a circular earthwork which included a ditch and an inner and outer bank. Nothing but an earthwork, no stones to speak of, roughly 3000 BCE. 2. At the same time, 3000 BCE, oddly or not, over in southwest Wales, the Preseli Hills, the bluestones of Stonehenge were quarried 150 plus miles away. But then something odd happened. It would take around 600 years for those very stones to be placed in the position we see them now, today. So that is a puzzle with many theories. Did they stop on the way or placed here somewhere else earlier on? Either way, 2400 BCE-ish for their final placement. 3. Then we have the huge Sarsens, the megaliths. These came again from a very specific site, maybe 20 miles north of here in the now West Woods, erected here around 2500 BCE, give or take. 4, job done. Not quite. We have another stone, the altar stone, that lies at the centre of Stonehenge, right down there underneath the other fallen ones. And get this, this was carried down in some form around the same time as the megaliths, but this one came from over 400 miles away in Scotland. That's mad. Okay, so that's the context of what we've been up to for the last couple of years, and there's also the context of why stones out of place are really important. So with that in mind, what of our stone? So upon first inspection, well, we all knew this wasn't the same chemical composition as the bluestones we find within that Stonehenge setting.
I don't think it's spotted dolerite.
This was very different, but above all it was blue, and it was a stone, and it was very much out of context for this landscape. Now that would turn out to be key. So before we get too excited, let's rule out a few obvious red herrings. I caught up with Clifford Jones, who runs the operation here. I wanted to play devil's advocate. Could this stone just be aggregate or somehow dragged into the field soil?
So I've taken into account that in agriculture you import soils to improve your land. Now the chances of this stone getting through a muck spreader in one piece is thin, and to get through and not be chopped in half or damaged again is even more thin. And also when I've looked through the field material that's been removed in the way of bricks which have come in with soil, all those bricks are from local brickworks. It doesn't fit with any local construction over the last 200 years that I can find.
So where was it found and how does that help us?
I believe it's moved through colluvial flow, and I suggest that based on, again, local observation of the amount of flint that appears in the field every year. Whatever came down from further up the valley. And you're considering the only thing it can be is flint or imported stone. And again, I have to say agriculture has provided the answer to this question. Every year they take bedside table size pieces of flint out of that particular field, and the following year the field is again full of flint, and so it's churning every year, and it's like a backflow, materials coming to the surface, and from there it's a case of taking it out the field every single year.
And that all becomes very clear when we look at the LiDAR here. So the next step was to get this rock analysed in a very scientific and professional way. Now everybody came to the conclusion of one particular name.
Rob Ixer
Yeah.
is the person who done all the bluestone analysis.
This man is the knowledge on all things rocks and analytical geochemistry of the said rocks. Okay, so we picked up the stone and personally delivered it to Rob Ixer, untouched and just wrapped up like our lives depended on it. We left it with Rob to make a few initial notes. Now I've learned a whole bunch of stuff about this over the last couple of months. Now Rob was very kind enough to give us a very brief initial analysis, so a very non-committal, I'll take a quick look and try and understand, give you a very brief, this is what it could be. He kindly sent that initial report across and gave us a huge amount of excitement. From that report, we had reason to believe that our initial thoughts were correct. So Rob suggested the next stage of this process would be to remove a small section of this stone so he could analyse it properly, and we would need to get it polished. So first step, we found a local stonemason who would be able to remove a small piece very carefully without sort of doing further damage to the stone. We would then send it to somebody of his recommendation to get it polished properly and thoroughly and as per proper process, and then he would then send that back to Rob so he could start his proper full analysis. So now we had a good month to wait. Careful analysis takes many days of work, so everyone at this stage within the group began speculating on where this came from. The general consensus was west of the UK, maybe Cornwall, Devon, Somerset, South Wales, but we still had not had the results. South Wales would be wild for sure. Not the same chemistry as we see on the bluestones within Stonehenge, and not potentially the same type of bluestone that the estate owner saw as a kid many years ago.
Which begs the question, there's clearly a lot more to find here, surely.
But the mystery remained, what exactly was this bluestone doing here? A month or so later, the results from Dr. Rob Ixer were in. October the 24th, 23rd, maybe 2025, and we've now got a good indication of what this is, what it constitutes, and therefore where it could be from.
The analysis was truly something else. 3 or 4 pages of geochemistry, which I'll be honest, I understood about 2% of. I was spending a lot of time on Google trying to understand a lot of this. So for you and I, let's deal with this in layman's terms. 2 important things.
1. Rob seemed extremely clear to point out that this had no association with the stones already found at Stonehenge, and we kind of knew that on first inspection, but clarification welcomed all the same. 2. This was blue pennant sandstone. So straight away, naturally, I'm now all over Google. Where exactly does blue pennant sandstone come from? 1. Swansea Upper Valleys. 2. The Bristol Valleys, the Frome and the Avon. So once again, I'm drawn back to that question. What exactly is that stone doing here?
Okay, so let's play devil's advocate here. We know this isn't from imported soils. It's way too big, it's unique. The farmer's confirmed it definitely isn't what he's seen before. But then we need to go back to Rob's analysis, the big analysis, because Rob points out and is very keen to point out something that we should consider.
Post-prehistoric, from the Roman era onwards to the 19th and 20th century. So Rob is rightly coming at this from a perspective that this material was used in building, so therefore transported somewhere perhaps more local. It's extremely hard, so let's hop back onto Google and ask a question. Where was blue pennant sandstone used as a building material? Essentially both South Wales and the Bristol and potentially the Bath area, and that makes complete sense because that's where it would have been quarried from, and minimal transportation to its end use.
It certainly isn't used locally at all. Yes, it can be used as a building stone. Very good for building stone, but I've not come across any structure, especially not a Roman structure, because the Romans found it very convenient to build with it. It's all by itself. It's above a river that's now subterranean, and I believe it's moved probably 1/4 of a mile in 4,000 years.
We here in this area, well, I've never seen this type of material used in a building, and I've been here a very long time. So the question remains, a really important question, in any event, what exactly is this stone doing here?
Now, it would be fair to say I've not given you all of the context of this landscape, in fact a tiny percentage, but suffice to say we do have Bronze Age barrows all along this subterranean river.
By Stonehenge, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, Henry, it is.
The king and queen barrows, or whatever they call them.
Perhaps marking the end of its life, and we also have a Circis monument almost mimicking the dying river running parallel from the Neolithic era. So we really wouldn't be surprised to see this stone here from prehistory. Now whatever the answer to that riddle, whatever era this came from and took its journey to here, well, we have a mystery on our hands. But more importantly than any of that right now is the following message.
Now there is a huge amount of opportunity to be had here at this project. Many different ways. Now when we consider things like time team and all the real good that that did for archaeology, well, perhaps the one negative is we all think archaeology can be done within 3 days. Clearly that's not the case. Now this project has got to where it is today in a couple of years purely based on the money from people's pockets that are involved. There's no significant grants here, no TV company backing this financially.
And I want to make it very clear, I'm not directly involved in an authoritative capacity or directorship capacity on this project.
project. I just rock up when I have time, help them with a bit of media work. This is very much me. So with that in mind, well, the team really do need some help. I asked Clifford what he wanted, what would be on his wish list, and he sent me the following list. So I suggested to Clifford, it's very unlikely that my audience, you lot, are going to have a spare Terra Surveyor 64 in your garden shed. You never know. But what you lot are very good at is action.
The peacocks are very loud.
Whether in the form of volunteering or helping out on an archaeological capacity, helping out with media, or even donating, yep, there's a very active Patreon just about ready for your support. Link below. Loads of opportunities here and a lot of help needed on the Hampshire-Wiltshire borders. So a Patreon page has been set up, and I'll put the link here. I'll put it in the description and in the pinned comment, so if you think this is something you want to help donate to on a regular basis, you can. Or of course, if you think you can help in one of the many ways we've already mentioned, then I'm going to also put the email address for you to get in touch with in the pinned comment and the description below as well. And from me, well, I assure you that I will keep you as posted as I possibly can on this channel as to the progress of that project, with the odd sporadic video here and there. But don't forget, we are after media help, so maybe there'll be its own YouTube channel one day. As for me, I'll be back this time next week with another random mystery from history. See you then.